Hello everyone, I'm Yishan Liu. I'm very glad that I have this opportunity to attend AAC conference. Although I cannot actually be there with all of you in New York, I still want to share my ideas in this study through this video with everyone. And this study is both composed by Shouwen Ye and I, and we are from the Institute of TESOL in NYCU in Taiwan. I'm the presenter of the presentation, and the title of the study is called Museum-Based Language Learning with Location-Aware Services. For starters, I will quickly introduce the research background in this study. First of all, due to the increasing demands for ubiquitous EFL learning, there are actually more and more mobile assisted language learning applications launched. And among all of these apps, Foursquare City Guide is especially highly recommended by researchers. So if you download the Foursquare, you will quickly find out that it has just special tagging services. So on this platform, users can narrate and describe places with numerous reviews, which are called tips regarding to spaces they visit, objects and people they see, and it naturally forms authentic learning context, which is not only beneficial for EFL language learning, but also beneficial for innovative writing instructions, which can be extended to daily life and communication. And next, I would like to discuss the context of museum-based learning. So among a wide variety of environments, I will especially focus on museums because they are viewed by EFL researchers as a significant location, which is full of dynamic contents for authentic language learning. And through museum-based learning, there are a lot of advantages for students. So they are able to gain abundant meanings involving cognitive and emotional domains, and they will be able to use our specific vocabulary, and they can also communicate a message ranging from how to say something to what to say. And they will also feel less anxious in communicative languages. And more than that, two scholars even reviewed the museum-based pedagogies and survey students' attitude towards the apps and these kind of applications in EFL context. So students reported that they have great interest in the following dimensions, which is included engagement with museum objects, use of English beyond the classroom, and even self-concepts. So some students even perceived the program combining contents and CLIO and a museum visit as useful in their English learning. So with the advantages under the basis of museum-based learning, you may be curious about how to operate Foursquare. So actually, Foursquare it belongs to location-based social networks, and it can support situated learning, as well as enables users to leave a record of their experiences. So first of all, you can do three things on this platform. First thing is that when you can check in one place and just quickly see its basic information on Foursquare. And the second thing you can do is that you can see a lot of sticky notes, and or you can just call them hashtags with some keywords and phrases from the visitors' tips. If you don't want to leave the tips or leave any records on this platform, you can also access other people's entries. So you can see that on the screen there, you can quickly see the three visitors' experiences, or you can just call them the tips. And the next one, actually, so after operating the Foursquare, it will give some pedagogical implications. For example, tips can serve as an empirical database of authentic resources for other users to learn how to write a short opinion in English. And besides, users can connect their experiences to real surroundings, which is in line with Han's belief in 2006 that education should begin with experience. On top of that, I will show you how I designed the research. So the study collected and analyzed 480 tips from museum visitors on Foursquare. And after we collected all of the data, we used NVivo to categorize and analyze the data according to each tip's functional purposes, rhetorical forms, and emojis. And thus, three research questions are addressed in the study. First, what kinds of functional purposes of the museum visitors tips manifest on Foursquare? Second, what rhetorical forms and features are presented in the museum visitors tips on Foursquare? And the last question is very interesting. I also discuss the emojis used to express Foursquare users' experiences in another innovative way. And in the face of data analysis, we adopted G's discourse framework and Oshima and Hog's rhetorical classifications. So in G's framework, we especially selected 4 building tasks, which were significance, activities, relationships, and connections. And I will show you the findings. The first part of the finding, according to G's building task, we found out that there was a unique cultural activity that was constructed by museum visitors on Foursquare. So in terms of actions, and under these activities, there are 6 common actions based on different significance. And they were on complement, exhibits, suggestions, status, report, criticism, and introduction. And in terms of relationship, actually, these museum visitors construe their relationship with other users as tour guides and the museum visitors. They always passionately introduce what they experience in the museum. And for the last one, in terms of connection, these museum visitors, they connected their experience with suggestions to other visitors explicitly that other users can quickly comprehend what they are talking about. So in the second part of the finding, in terms of rhetorical features, although most of the tips were brief, some tips corresponded with the writing techniques defined by Oshima and Hogg, included narration, description, comparison, and contrast, opinion, process, and definition. And here, due to the time limits, I will just show you one of the example of the writing technique, is the comparison and the contrast. We observed that these users tended to use superlatives to praise the museum and or use comparatives to show their dissatisfaction of the museum. For example, they will use the phrase like the best museum ever or another museum is way better. Or we also observe that we'll use the conjunction us, us, and even they will use a metaphor. So I'll show you 2 tips very quick. One of the users just said the British Museum is not nearly as expensive as the Louvre. So clearly we can see that it uses the conjunction us mentioned here. And the other user just said the rooftop area was the icing on the cake of a perfect day. So obviously this user used a metaphor in his or her tips. And the third part of the finding is the emojis. So emojis basically consisted of 3 types. First, typographic face marks. Second, non-linguistic symbols. And the third, other emojis. Again, due to the time limits, I will just show you one of the examples from the other emojis or other colorful graphics that can represent objects and ideas. So it has 2 features. First, it can function lexically to replace some everyday words. Second, these emojis are easily comprehended symbols. So for example, this is a very classic tip in my data. From his or her tip, in the first line it says, "Oh, the globe is here," or "Oh, the world is here." He just uses an icon of an earth to represent the world, earth, world, or globe. But everyone just can understand what it means quickly. And in the last line of this tip, It says put on layers of clothes with two icons in the end, and one is the flame and the other is the snowflake. So the other users can also quickly understand what they mean. This user tried to express that the temperature in the museum is not so stable. Maybe he feels so hot in one area and he also feels so cold in another area. So to conclude, through this study, we aim to explore the potential in Foursquare or on other location-based social networks. And we try to associate the unique features with the authentic context. And by doing so, we hope the study or the findings could be utilized to motivate students to read and write about a museum on the location-based social networks online. And last but not least, we also hoped that this study or the authentic resources from LBSNS can serve as an empirical database for course developers to create more authentic or creative materials for EFL learners, or it can serve as an empirical database for instructors to create the authentic environments for EFL learners. All right, so this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.